welcome to another Tuesday night masterclass of It's So Much More. And tonight, we are talking all about, are you resistant, right? And how to release the things that hold us back. So whether it's weight or toxins or trauma or all the things, we're going to talk about some tools and some techniques that we can incorporate to help us to do that. But before we get started, we have a powerful testimonial that came out of our most recent early feedback group for our brand new product. And so I'm going to go ahead and share that with you guys.
So a little about me. I have been married 15 years. This is my second marriage. In the first marriage, it lasted 18 years. And early on in the marriage, I decided that since I was saying what I needed, but I wasn't getting it, I would simply just stop speaking up and focus on other things. So I focused on my children and got through the 18 years. What that resulted in was me losing my voice. And as I lost it, it translated physically into having a thyroid that was not working the way it should. So with time, I had what the doctors call an underactive thyroid. And the reason I say that is because today, if you are listening to this and you are the type of person who puts everybody first and you go last, you don't say what you need, you don't say what you deserve, you don't express your wants, that's what's going to happen. Your thyroid is going to be affected. Thyroid sits very close to the vocal cords, so you will lose your voice and your thyroid will be affected. And so I had lost my voice. I had stopped saying what I needed. I never took medicine for this situation. I tried to use all the products I knew at that time to address healing my thyroid, but it never healed. Up until I started Solle. And 2 years after being on Solle in a regular program that I was constant in with oils, I tested normal on my thyroid levels. So here we are 7 years later, and we're getting ready to try this new product, SolleFIT. And before I started on the Metabolic Mastery program to test SolleFIT, I was already beginning to see some symptoms creep up that said to me, whoa, your thyroid wants to get underactive again. It's giving you an imbalance. And so why? Why do I say that? Because I started to have the weight gain, the dry skin, the tiredness, the dry hair. There was just too many things. And my biggest thing was I began to develop this rash in my neck that immediately helped me make the connection, because I know that behind my neck is my thyroid and my vocal cords. And I knew that those were issues for me. I knew that I had lost my voice. And I thought I had addressed that, but clearly I hadn't, because these things were coming back. So I quickly made the connection. I tried to be more careful with my choices of eating, trying to get to bed on time, trying to incorporate more consistency in my exercise. Yeah, but I had a hard time making all of that work for me. I was craving the wrong things. I wasn't making time for exercise. And when I would get in bed, I simply couldn't get to sleep quick enough. So I'd grow tired of that and then just would give up. The first thing I noticed when I added SolleFIT to my regimen was that I started to yawn earlier. And I said, whoop, immediately get in bed. So one benefit then led to another. Big surprise, right? So as I started to sleep a little bit more, now I wanted to exercise and had the motivation to actually make time for it. My cravings started to go away. They stayed at bay. I lost 10 pounds during these 30 days, during my first 30 days in SolleFIT. And the best part is that because I was using the Soul Compass set along with my program and SolleFIT, I was able to address hidden emotions. I was able to speak up on things that I knew I had to address, and in doing so, I found my voice again. Now, the final symptom that worried me the most, the brutally scary neck rash, subsided. And now I'll tell you, it did get horribly bad, worse, before it got better. But as my neck healed, all the other symptoms I mentioned at the beginning of my conversation with you all also disappeared as well. My best experience with SolleFIT is that as I put SolleFIT into my regular Soul program, I realized how powerful this product is to help us detox feelings that we have buried alive without even knowing. Like, we know that out of 10 illnesses, 9 of them are rooted in the emotionals imbalance and something psychological. So that means that out of 10 illnesses I may have, if I address the emotional, 9 will go away. I'll only stay with 1, right? And I can even get rid of that one eventually with all the other good things I'll do. But because I know that the emotional stuff is so huge, but I can't always put the finger on it or make the connection, to have a product in Solle that when we add it to our regimen and we keep the oils there will help us, that is very empowering. And that's what SolleFIT became to me. And to know that I have a tool that I can keep and that I can give my body to help it continue to heal, because it won't be the only thing that I'll have to address emotionally, right? I'll have other things I'll have to address. That's powerful to me. It's a tool that I want to keep and that I also want to share with others.
All right. And thank you so much. I loved her story and I loved going through the experience with her because it's super powerful. Like, we don't always know what's going on inside of us, right? Like, we don't know what all the things are. And so sometimes we just have this thing, like, and it's just recurring over here and we don't know all the pieces to put it together. And so it's powerful to see how when we put everything together in a holistic approach where we're, with all the 4 categories where we're addressing, we're always doing balance and lift and clarify and calm, all 4 together all the time, that we can move through these things and process things, even if we don't know the details behind the situation. And so tonight's going to be a little bit different format, but I'm super excited for it because after for the last 3 weeks, of course, guys, we've been talking all about metabolic mastery and we've been going through the different pieces of this. And we've been talking about this brand new product, SolleFIT GP. And so tonight, we have for our soul connection piece, I'm super excited for it. Greg Halliday is here and he's going to be sharing with us 2 of the ingredients in SolleFIT GP. So we don't have time to go through all of them tonight, but 2 of them, one of them brand new to Solle, and then one of them an adaptogen that we're really excited about. So Greg?
You bet. Thank you, Erica. And hello, everybody. It's great to be with you tonight. I was noticing the chat right as you were introducing me. Someone chatted in and her comment was, it's so relatable to me. And it just makes me want to express my appreciation for everyone willing to share their experience. Last Friday night, for instance, I was in Ontario, California, and a woman stood up who was really quite new and just shared everything about what she'd been through in the last 3 or 4 weeks. Her testimonial was about GP2, and I can tell you what she said in a minute too. But I hope that everyone always feels comfortable. That is one of the main goals at Solle. Whenever we get together, and I have the privilege to be on a lot of Zooms that are all organized by leaders, I certainly feel that from every one of the leaders that they, Erica, included here tonight, really emphasize just that everyone's welcome to share. And hopefully you always feel comfortable, because what stood out to me about the comment in chat was that she said it was really relatable to me. We just never know if our voice is the one that turns a light bulb on or gives a boost, gives that enough security that, someone can go, okay, yeah, I can do something about this, or there's a solution. I'm going to keep working on it. Or, hey, perhaps this is an answer for me. If not an answer, a doorway that moves me forward and answers something and makes it better. So anyways, I just love all that. And I hope it helps you in thinking about how you can use the product. And I hope it also helps you, maybe reminds you of someone that you're around that you could help. Those are the 2 things we try to do, right? We're founded to do those 2 things, or help ourselves, and wherever we can help someone else. Education to me is the key. When we have information, we can be pretty amazing, can't we? As human beings, we need information and we need support. So that's why this product is here. It I think can be something that people can draw extra support from. And I love the way that Erica talked about using a balanced program, using all 4 categories, then using SolleFIT GP, the product we're talking about tonight, use it as a targeted and a concentrated addition. That is what this lady, I wish I could remember her name for you. I met so many people on that night. I can't remember her name, but she got up and shared her story, stood up there, and she said the same basic thing that Erica talked about in terms of using the product. In other words, she was using it just like you say. She was on a balanced program and she'd been on it, I gathered, she didn't say exactly how long, but it sounded like a few months, like long enough that she was starting to see changes in results. And so she was liking the direction she was going in. And then she happened to come to the summit. And because she was at the summit when we launched SolleFIT GP, she bought some and decided to add it to her program. So she kept taking her other, the signature drinks. I know she was, because she did mention that she was drinking the 4 signature drinks. I don't know if she was drinking one of each every day, but I know she was drinking them all. And she said what she noticed amazed her, because it had been 3 weeks and some amount of days, only that amount of time that she had added SolleFIT GP. In that time, I would say she talked to us for like 8 or 9 minutes and telling us all the things she's noticed that were different. At the very end of the 8 or 9 minutes, she says, "Oh yeah, and I lost 12 pounds, and I honestly can't remember. It was like an inch or two, I think around the waist." But that isn't what she spent all her time talking about. Like, she just threw that in at the end. She was talking about the way her afternoons were now, like the way she sleeps. And I honestly can't remember all the things, but it really moved into a lot of different aspects of her life in a noticeable way. She was so pumped about it. Now, she was taking, I'll just tell you, she looked like she's maybe 5'2", so not super tall, right? And she described herself, this was a meeting in Spanish, she described herself as gordita, which is like an endearing way of saying plump or something, right? And not super big, but just plump that way. And she was like, I was taking 4 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon. Now, I've known of 1 or 2 people. Most people are not doing that. They're doing like 2 a day, or maybe 4. I think I've heard of 1 other person of all the people I've heard of that are, I don't know if you've heard of more, Erica, but I don't know. And I honestly don't know why. She didn't explain why she chose to use that many, but it was her decision. She had her reasons. And I think the reason she kept doing it is because it was just, she was feeling so great. And if I were to guess, I bet over time, you're not going to see her stay at that dose, but she has her reasons right now. And boy, she had energy. When you listen to her, you just thought, okay, I can take control of my life. I can take control of the direction of my health. So that's what I got out of it. That's what we hope for SolleFIT GP, because metabolism, as you've talked about in other weeks, it really is pervasive in all aspects of health, emotional, cognitive, and physical. So to me, there isn't an area it doesn't touch for good if we can learn about it and be more of a master of our metabolism. So 2 of the key ingredients in SolleFIT GP that Eric asked me to mention tonight, one is an adaptogen, not always on everyone's list. It's on our list. I'll be really open about that. We have it on our list because we're pretty convinced that it's an adaptogen, and that's rooibos. So Dr. Allison, when she shared a few things about rooibos that she shared, and I wanted to not forget a couple of things that she mentioned about it. There are a couple of things that are a little bit counter to what is commonly shared. Rooibos is the first couple of things I'll tell you are not those things, but I'll mention what those are. First of all, it is sourced from South Africa. It grows other places, but this is where it usually is. And the nutritional profile that has gained all of its notoriety is present in the South African material. Its meaning, the rooibos, is simply a Dutch word for red bush. And as we know, when you're really into natural things. When you see these intense colors in nature, very often they're some of the best nutrients for us. And rooibos is no exception there. The interesting thing about rooibos is when they prepare it, it will be fermented. There's lots of data on what a great antioxidant is, lots of great data on regulating mood. And everything, I talk a lot about wood betony as the herb for your head, kind of like all things in the head. And I know to some degree or another, all herbs do that, but rooibos is like that. A lot of insomnia and less irritability and better stress management. And they've done studies now to show some of the reasons why that is. And they've also shown that this material, because it is fermented, plays a stronger role in metabolic regulation. So there's some real perfectly aligned aspects and attributes to rooibos for a product like SolleFIT GP, where we're trying to boost and target metabolic mastery. Let me just not forget, I wanted to mention some of those studies that talk about what Dr. Allison shared in terms of the mood regulating. One of the reasons that it's so good with the stress response is it's loaded with different flavonoids that are known to relax and normalize stress levels. But there also is aspect to rooibos that actually lowers cortisol, or did I say that right? Yeah, cortisol production. And we know one of the problems with that is there's just too much of it. And there's lots of reasons. Eric has taught us on that a couple of times and referenced it, what it causes. I mean, the other day I heard another great explanation really from what you talked about a while ago, how that in the end, when you follow the path, leads to fatty liver. Okay, just connects all the dots there. That is becoming a bigger and bigger and bigger problem and not diagnosed. Okay, so it really is at the center of so many things in metabolism. Well, now they know why with rooibos. The body doesn't go so hard on that stress response and those adrenals not producing so much cortisol. And one of the reasons that rooibos to me is so healing, because to master metabolism, we've got to enable the body's healing mechanisms. It already wants to balance and fix things, right? If we can do some things. And one of those things we can do is the state of being in our management of stress. I'm a firm believer in when the body feels comfortable, call it in a good range of rest. It doesn't mean that we're not doing anything, but we're not overwhelmed, certainly. And there's a little energy to spare in our metabolic function. Then the body can go. This is just my simple way of saying it. I think I'm going to work on this thing, this chronic thing, this emotion that's tucked there in the liver, this physical aspect that's not happening, that's bogging down here. I'm going to work on that. And so sometimes we see the sort of the detox or the healing. I actually love what is it? There's a word, because I hear this quoted more in Spanish than I do in English. It's pre-alivio in Spanish. Alleviate would be a similar word. It's sort of the pre-alleviation before we feel the good. There's that little tension as the body rids that and does what it needs to do to change and fix and bring it back to normal. So I think GP, partly because of the rooibos and partly because of the grains of paradise, is really good at this. I think it's a big part of why Lydia shared what she shared. And the reason I use the word think is that this is a fairly new formula still. The ingredients are not, and they're really well studied, although I will say grains of paradise is not so much in the Western world. It's a newbie to studies, but it's long history of use. And if you read and study the usages, you can sort of see why it has such a good fit. So rooibos does what it does for the stress response, and it also helps in metabolism. Okay, that's clear. The grains of paradise is the other part that Eric asked me to talk about. Let me just give you, this one will be faster, okay? A couple of just factoids from Dr. Allison on grains of paradise. I mean, first of all, if you're kind of listening to this for the first time, what is it? Some people call them, that some of its nicknames are kind of akin to peppers, like peppercorns, but they're small little peppercorns. And actually, if you've ever chewed them, they're actually delicious. They are much more diverse in flavor, in components than a simple peppercorn, which explains why they have so many different actives and so many different possibilities for metabolic mastery. They are loaded with all sorts of nutrients that directly affect metabolism. And honestly, the research is just beginning. But let me just tell you a few things that are proven. This is from Dr. Allison. Pulling inflammation generally down, including inflammation that is associated with our own immune system attacking. So that's an area absolutely proven. Stress response and physical results of high blood pressure and hypertension absolutely mitigated with the nutrition of grains of paradise. Several different digestive issues, and also several immune, like with cold and flu and fever issues, all improved just by adding some of this into the diet. So what do some of the studies show? Okay, one of them actually has to do with the thyroid. And one of the activities of grains of paradise is actually to protect against drug-induced weak thyroid. In other words, where a side effect of different drugs can be hypothyroidism, that actually is mitigated with grains of paradise. Another great protective function is our kidneys and kidney damage. There are a number of, obviously, synthetics that are known to damage kidneys, and when people consumed grains of paradise, that damage did not happen compared to others who did not. So it is very protective. Anytime you can tell me that there's something that is part of a formula that's protective and that it has its unique blend, I'm really interested in adding it. And you'll see that's why Solle tries to have quite a large variety of components in each formula instead of just basing a formula off one or two things, which is more the typical. Another protect study that Dr. Allison talked to us about was liver damage. And that was an interesting thing because she talked about how the evidence was that the liver returned to producing glutathione, which plays such an important role back at normal levels when grains of paradise was consumed. And another study that she alluded to was from radiation, the effects of radiation. And that to me is a broad word because sometimes we think of the most severe form, the deadly form, that if I'm even around it, but we're around all sorts of electromagnetic impulse. It's just a part of our life now. Thank goodness we have herbs and oils. We have things that are really quite wonderful if we're around them and we use them, that are quite protective in that way. And GP is one of them. Grains of paradise is another one. Couple of other studies, this is just a rundown of what it is known clinically to have done, are blood sugar and that whole issue of how the body manages sugars. Really good evidence in those studies, both bringing sugar down and then not sending the sugar too low, which to me suggests that's what I love about adaptogenic philosophy versus something that just is a pure one-directional herb nutrient that sometimes we feel like, oh, if it's an herb, I can just take as much as I want. And that's not the case with some herbs. They can push things too low. Adaptogens are balancers. And so GP has a little bit of that because one of the studies showed it did not push it low where people didn't need their blood sugar to go any lower. Now, when it comes to the metabolism that I referenced, GP has several components in it that help the body both convert that, I don't know, you might have already talked about some of this, Erica, so I won't go into too much detail, but the white adipose tissue, converting it to the brown, which is the one that we use in thermogenesis and energy production. So it's really, really important there. That's an area where Dr. Allison would tell you, not very much study yet there, but what all the studies do show is pretty promising. And again, that's why I think we're going to find ourselves learning so much more about exactly how GP works, because we don't use it alone. Like a study will, we actually combine it with many other things in the formula that are known as a group to have the balance that we want in this area of metabolic mastery. Another study of GP shows it's super, super anti-inflammatory. So people sometimes with this will talk about less pain with it too, because inflammation is down. I don't have as much pain. I will say this, looking at perusing some of the studies she shared, this formula in itself, this time of year, is really a wonderful immune booster or modulator. You know, which you don't really talk about for this, but it is. If you look at all the other ingredients, and certainly these two, rooibos and grains of paradise, are both really good immune food. And let me see, I want to make sure I didn't finish the last thought. Okay, so there's some gut protective, like it makes grains of paradise in your system makes it harder for bad bacteria to attach. And so they tend to pass through more instead of adhering to us and causing us bigger problems. I think I mentioned blood pressure does go down with it safely, but it doesn't drop too low. Another good sign for grains of paradise in terms of it having some of that adaptogenic property. And I guess the last one that she mentioned that I thought that I'll mention tonight is it's the antispasmodic. Whenever I hear that in any herb, I think of balance. I think of strength when the body's able to have what it needs and there's greater balance. So, some of those more severe reactions, which are natural, don't happen. And so GP, I think we're going to keep learning for a long time about it, but those are grains of paradise. I guess I didn't mention, it's in two different forms too. We have two different extracts. One is a 5 times extract of the entire little grain, which is the seed of the plant. And then the other one is standardized to a particular group of polyphenols that have been in all those studies, converting the fat to the right kind of fat in us to use. So that's why we do them both. We like that standardization, but we also wanted to provide a ramped up extract of the others. So if you happen to be a Googler and you read studies and you kind of see these levels that all the studies and how much people took for metabolism, you will discover that we are giving a greater amount, but we are giving the full amount of the studied extract per serving. And then we're also adding this other complete 5 times concentrate. And so because of the balance of the other nutrients, you can expect to get other additional health benefits. So there we go, Erica. That's everything I have on that.
All right, thank you. And I'll keep you around. So if anybody has questions, before we get to the questions for tonight, I want to go ahead and get right into, we have Jennifer Pressimone, such an honor to have her with us tonight. And she's going to be sharing about our Soul Compass blends and how we can use them to also help us, assist us in releasing the things that are no longer serving us. So Jennifer, I'll go ahead and give you the controls.
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here with you. Just as I like to blend scents, I like to do a blended learning style because I think whenever we talk about scents, it's really good to pair that, especially with colors. And since we're talking about the Compass blends, we know that they match up to the colors in the color categories for the Soul products. So I just want to bring that to you. And really what I want to share on the Compass blends is how they are going to support you, your mind, your body, everything, to bring it into balance. And what it's doing is it's really strengthening your metabolism. It's balancing, just as Greg was talking about, with the herbs, some of the herbs in GP. And so scent. So in the program that you're doing, anytime you work on weight management, and I use the word weight management because some people are trying to lose weight. I don't use the word lose, I use the word release because you can find things you lose. So weight release. And some people are working on weight gain. And so some people are maintaining weight. So we're not always going to be losing weight. Sometimes we just need to maintain where we are. And so anytime you create movement within, it's always going to create movement out. And when that happens, things are going to get stirred up. And so there's going to be some cleansing that's happening. There's going to be building of integrities of our membranes and our cells and our tissues. We're also going to be releasing stuff that shouldn't be there. And some of that stuff that shouldn't be there is emotions, right? These thoughts, feelings, emotions that are not serving us. And anytime you have what you might define as an unhealthy emotion or bad emotion, it doesn't mean that you can never be sad or you can never be upset or you can never be angry. You can. You need to honor that. You need to work through that, and it's real. You just can't stay there. That's the big key. And so a part of using the GP is that it's helping with our metabolism. It's putting it into balance. And in order to put things into balance, things that don't serve you have to go away. And so we are going to be releasing those. And what scent is going to do. And so if you have your essential oil blends, if you have your compass blends, if not, I'm putting it here for you to smell. The scent is going to ignite your electricity in the body. Think of electricity as communication, how your gut, your brain, everything is communicating. All of your organs are communicating bidirectionally with each other. And this is sending messages so you can manage your stresses. So one thing I want you to think about and to assess for yourself as you're going through is, am I responding or am I reacting? What? That's a quick reaction. Let me think about that. Let me weigh the pros and the cons. That's a response, or based on your experience, you know how to handle something. Or are you snapping? Is something happening? I want you to recognize that and then write that down and journal about that, because this is something that's being released. Don't shove it back in. You did that once. Don't do it again. Let's get it out. And so anytime you're experiencing that, it's proof that, oh my gosh, yes, I'm working on my metabolism. And you want to honor your body and say, thank you for, working metabolism and knocking this stuff out. So the supporting role that the scents are going to have with the herbs is, again, we're clearing, we're cleansing, we're fostering balance. It's going to stimulate and strengthen your metabolism to get stuff out, to get stuff in and out. And so the reason I say in and out, when you move toxins out, that means nutrients can move in and stay. But if you're taking in nutrients and there are toxins there, it's going to negate them. It's going to void them out. It's going to make them not work well, or it's not going to allow them in at all. And that's what's getting flushed out instead of the toxins. So when we push and we allow these negative thoughts, feelings, emotions, and even physical toxins that's going on inside, when we let that go out, we make room for good stuff to come in. And regulating the circadian rhythm cycle, this is a huge role that metabolism plays. And this is why it's so important to balance your metabolism and to bring that into, harmony within your body, because that's what's affecting your sleep and your energy. Do you have enough energy to do the things you need to do when you need to do them? And can you quiet everything down, quiet the noise, and get a good night's sleep? That is how the scents are going to support you on this journey. The goal is supporting mind and body. We're having movement, encouraging scents. That's what the compass blends are. We have circulation flowing. The lymph is going to get unstuck because trapped emotions, they're buried in tissues, but they get stuck in the lymph. And then they get buried in different organs. And then that's probably a conversation for another time, but we certainly want to pay attention to that. And we need to have clear gut-brain communications. And overall, having our nervous system, which is our communication system, and our glandular system, our delivery systems, working together through the whole body. So mind-body balance, this needs a healthy metabolism. And what I love about GP, and I've only recently started using it, so I don't have a ton of experience, but I will tell you, I didn't need a ton of experience. From the moment, the first capsule, I can tell you within 24 hours, I noticed a difference in the metabolism of thoughts and emotions and stresses that were going on at the time. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just handled this better than I thought I would or that I could. And it's not burdening me. It's not sitting on my shoulders. And it's hard for me to remember what I was feeling 5 minutes ago because I already let it go. That was so powerful. And I continue using that. And I've had some clients using that. And I do more emotional healing with my clients. And so this is the power. We're seeing mental and emotional, psychological metabolism benefits. And it's not doing it in a way that freaks you out. It's doing it in a way you can manage. It's making what you're going through more manageable so you can adapt, you can be more flexible, you can pivot and shift and do all the things that you need to do. So certainly we're strengthening our physical metabolism, right? It's generating heat in the body because heat creates energy. We're stimulating our mental and emotional metabolism. As you work through the program and you have these emotions, like I said, I want you to journal because you're going to revisit emotions you put in, you buried. And you might go, oh my gosh, I haven't thought about that in 20 years. Oh, it's ready to come out now. And so we want to pay attention. We want to honor. We want to accept it. And then we want to release it. And that is where you using the compass blends are going to be helpful. So the GP herbs are helping to neutralize the burdens and emotions, break them down, flush them out. You just have to let them happen. The herbs can do everything that they can. The oils can do everything they can. You have to do your part. So out with the old and with the new. So using the 4 blends that we have, and so with the compass blends, you'll notice that they do have special names. We were very strategic and mindful and intentional of why we chose the names for these particular compass blends with positive affirmations, because as you're releasing burdens and you're releasing negative thoughts, feelings, and emotions, you can't just take stuff out. You have to replace it so that stuff doesn't come back. And what you replace it with is positive, healthy. So with the clarify category, we have the confidence roll on, right? This is helping us have a clear path. Our gut, our brain is having a clear path. Our nervous system has a clear path. The lymph has a clear path, circulation, everything within on a physical, mental, and emotional level. The contentment is calming the noise, the mental chatter, inflammation, pain going on. The comfort is bringing you comfort and joy, but it's also lifting our energy, helping us tap into our passions and our desires and being excited about that. And we have balance, we have courage, right? Courage and willpower versus fear to balance our mind and our body. So the blends, they're giving you this directional support to help your mind and your body achieve balanced health. It's part of the equation. It's part of this process. You're working physically on getting stuff out and balancing and recalibrating. You need to support yourself on a psychological level. So we have harmony, balance, function, and movement. So the 3 pillars that you're getting by using these blends with the program is that it's helping with the release of what shouldn't be there, the management, the emotional cleansing, but we have positive affirmations here for you. So anytime you're using it and smelling it, I want you to say that affirmation. I have confidence. I have comfort. I have courage. I have contentment, because you're reinforcing that within you. And so these scents, they're going to help you manage and modulate these emotions, feelings, and thoughts that will come up. They're going to come up. I'm not going to lie. Something's going to come up. And if it doesn't, then there could be some blocks, or you might have a defensive wall up, but 99.999% of the time, they're going to come up. And so we want support psychologically and physically together. So to use them, you can match up these oils, these roll-ons. You can do them one per month, right? You can have all of them. I've got my little bowl here that I use them all day, which is the second one I'm going to talk about. But the first one, doing this program, if you're new and you don't want to be overwhelmed and you're not really versed in all this, don't let that stop you. Just do one and it's already matched up for you. It's already figured out for you. You're going to smell one of the roll-ons per month. This is going to give you the support you need for what you're working on that month. Now, for those of you that are advanced, or you have more experience with your emotions and more experience with the aromatherapy, what I am doing with that is I smell around the clock. And so when I drink my cinnamate, I'm smelling my comfort. So I have my cinnamate, and then I have comfort. I am comfort is my affirmation. I smell it. I roll it on my wrist. I roll it around my neck, underneath my nose, around my ears, my temples, because that's giving me support. And if I have anything that's going on in my body, if my joints are hurting, my stomach is hurting, that's where I apply it. When I drink my Excel, I smell the confidence. I have confidence is my affirmation. I smell it. I use it. When I drink my Vital, I smell my courage. When I drink Renew, I smell the contentment. And so that's my smelling. I drink around the clock and I smell around the clock. And so this is a way that you can support yourself, right? You have to be able to take care of yourself. You have to lead by example. Stress is going to happen all day long, right? Or does it? Because it's your response to what's going on. I have a lot of stresses going on. So many people say, how do you handle all that you do? Well, it's not stressful to me because I handle it. I don't view it as a stress. And so that's because my body's more balanced. Now, when I become a little bit more agitated or irritated or frustrated, then I know, oh, something's not balanced. My body and my mind and my psychology is telling me that I'm not balanced. Let me go figure that out. And going back and smelling these compass blends around the clock is a sure way to bring balance. And the other thing that it's doing is balancing your circadian rhythm at the same time. And so just to leave you with a visual with your comfort roll-on, these are some areas and emotions that it's going to help with for things that might come up. And so we have the lift blend, the clarify, and the balance inside of comfort. So it's helping with immune. And we know that love runs through our blood. And we have, the blood that balances the pancreas and the blood sugar. So we have that whole theme. And it's not coincidence that the category lift is red to signify that. We have the yellow category for the sunlight and bringing the light in with our brain with clarity and focus, and then being balanced, right? So we can move safely and steady. With the confidence, we have the clarify and the calm, so you can move while being content. So we can focus, we can have clear thoughts, and we can move, but we're content while we're doing that. We're not comparing ourselves or being judgmental. We're allowing the process to happen. With the courage roll-on, you're grounded and you're flexible. So you're stable and relaxed. Your mood is stable, hormones, nerves, fear, your skin, the mind, there's less worry, anxiety, spasms. We talked about the grains of paradise having anti-spasmodic, your calm blend, and your anything with the calm blend in it, like the courage roll-on, is going to be anti-spasmodic and anti-inflammatory. And the contentment roll-on, we have clarify, balance, and calm. So you're inspired, you feel supported, you feel satisfied, and most importantly, you feel nourished. And so all together, you have fun, you have a clear path, you feel rooted and stress-free. This is the goals of the program. This is the goals of how the scents play their supporting role. And I really don't even like saying they have a supporting role. It's really a dual role. Herbs and oils go hand in hand for me. It's not one or the other. It's not the herbs first, the oils second. They both have equal stake. They have an equal role in how they're going to bring balance and really strengthen your metabolism, right? And I use the word strengthen because maybe it needs to be revved up, maybe it needs to be calmed down, but it needs to be balanced regardless. And that is the power of what these are going to do for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jennifer. That was amazing. And I loved learning really all about our compass blends again. They're literally my favorite. And it looks like people are loving your presentation and all the information as well. And they just said they fell in love with the compass blends and all over again. So, okay, hypertension and SolleFIT GP. So I think you said, should you take more SolleFIT GP for hypertension? So I'm going to give my thought on that first. First of all, I would, if you have any questions about hypertension in general, you should probably speak to your doctor, right? And so with that said, I feel like you want to use a balanced program in general, right? And so as we get more, like as our body begins to get more and more balanced, as we're reducing stress and as we're doing those things, the symptom that you're calling hypertension, right, that's obviously an imbalance in the body, will start to balance itself out. As far as taking more SolleFIT GP, I think you have to listen to your body because I think it's going to work differently for everybody. I know for me, it definitely is a lifting product. Like it's definitely a lifting product. And I don't think that it would be beneficial for me in like calming blood pressure, right? But I'm sure that there's probably somebody that could come on here and be like, well, yeah, I took it and it reduced my blood pressure, right? Like that's exactly what happened for them because it's all about your body and that's just the way the herbs and the adaptogens and everything works. So is there anything that you want to add to that, Greg?
No, that's really good because I go the same place. Because here's the thing, I love how you put it, the hypertension is the message. It is not a disease or it's a message from your body about an imbalance or imbalances. And the thing is, it can, when it gets to that point, it can come from several channels. So that's the whole point about a program, like you said, a balanced program, I have a much greater chance of dealing at the root of my hypertension versus somebody else's hypertension. So it really is a viewpoint that I share. It's really hard to kind of like shift our mind to work imbalance. So we can't answer that question on should you take more. I will tell you, yerba mate is the #1 ingredient. It's not that it's the most important one in terms of milligrams of powder. And one of the properties of yerba mate, now yerba mate has 3 kinds of lifters in it. It also has studies that show hypertension goes down with it. So, but it's an adaptogen and your reason for it. So you may get all sorts of other benefits because you just go, I'm going to do more and more yerba mate or cinnamate that has it in it or GP. And then it doesn't go down and you're like, well, what it's really affecting most of all might not be the reason yours is hovering there. And that's why I kind of like also what Jennifer said. I look at oils right there parallel. So they're looking at balance versus like, oh, I'm just going to, should I take more of this for something? I know that's not the answer that people want to hear, but I do think listening to your body, because that's the other thing Erica said, not just with GP, but with other things you're taking in a balanced program, listen to your body there and make those adjustments. So I'm really not adding anything. I'm kind of just validating what you said.
No, I love it. I love it. So I'm going to go back to that same thing with the one about Candida. The question about Candida and kidney imbalances. Kidney imbalances for sure. I'm going to go back to the same thing when we're working with a balanced program. We can see these things balance out, right? And you want to listen to your body specifically with the kidneys. Let's look at, there's some physical things that will happen when your kidneys are imbalanced, right? And you can look at how those symptoms, right, are happening and reducing or speeding up, and then we can kind of look at what's really going on in the body. Same thing with Candida, although I will actually address that when you look at all the ingredients in SolleFIT GP, there's definitely many antifungals in there, just like there are with like every single Solle product, just about. Like we could go through there and be like, oh, that one's antifungal, that one's, and in our oils, like we look at our oils, we're like, oh, that's antifungal, so lots of antifungal products. So again, going back to that balance program, you'll see. So Minnie, I see your question is, does it help with eliminating fluids? And so I don't really know the answer to that, although I'm going to say that I do know a lot of people start on it and they say that they have increased urination. So, and we see inflammation go down and, you know, like swelling and things like that. So I don't know the actual answer, but I'm going to say that symptom wise, we do see benefits of clearly eliminating fluids from the body. So feel free to chime in on that if you want, Greg.
No, that's good stuff. And the only thing I'll add in terms of the 4 drinks, you know, in thinking of a balanced program is with kidneys and vital, with kidneys and what Eric is talking about, aspects related to that, for a long period of time. GP's a newer formula with Grains of Paradise. The other ingredients are well studied. The Grains of Paradise addition is a newer formula. It absolutely will play a role there, just like Erica said. And I actually think a really good one. I know also as well, I think I answered on one of those. Don't forget Vital. Vital is one where I've seen people, they will do still a full balance program, but they'll go 3 and 4 and 5 packets a day when they have serious kidney issues and have amazing. But everyone doing that's, it's like they're not forcing themselves. They'll drink it, feels good, they're feeling, body wants another, and they find their number. And they don't stay on that forever, but for some period of time, they do that. So Vital, to me, when I think of kidneys, I go there first, but there are several, and GP is going to be another good kidney one. I mean, we've got a few that are really good kidney ones in capsules too.
Awesome. And then I go to this next one. With weight loss emotions, a lot of the time for me, a lack of appetite, but once I'm better emotionally and rested, the appetite comes back. Why is that? So if you have been here for some of our previous classes, we talk about how we have this autonomic nervous system and we have this rest and digest, and then, you know, so the way our stress response. So when we are dealing with emotions, your stress response is activated, right? Because that's part of how this is all happening in the brain. And so oftentimes our body is going to, because it can really only do a couple of things at a time. It can either relax and restore and digest and rest and do that, or it can be on alert, taking care of business on this side. So if you're agitated or you know, and you're having to be on alert on this side, then you don't have the body is just not hungry, right? And so that's why you lose the appetite during that time. Now, on the other hand, some people will just stress eat, right? Because it's like a, you know, just trying to, like a boredom type of thing. It's the way the body does it. But generally it's not because they're hungry. The appetite, generally speaking, is actually not there because of that balance of the autonomic nervous system. So to answer your question, Minnie, that's generally what you're going to be experiencing there. And again, that's another great time to use your oil blends to really help you process through that and then restore that balanced function. So your appetite comes back and you're digesting and you're doing all the things that you need to do.
Erica, can I just add something to that?
Yes.
So anytime you use this scent and you're using the aromatherapy, it activates. And so that is, herbs are activating, oils are activating, and now you've activated this process. So if things start coming out too quickly, then certainly back down, you know, let's calm things down. Let's go at a slower pace. Now, there are going to be times when it's activated and you can't shove them back in and you can't stop. And so, and maybe you don't want to stop and maybe you want to keep it going. And so the mindset that you would have is, instead of smelling around the clock, is you're smelling either the blends every 15 minutes or you're smelling that oil for every hour for the first 3 hours. And then you're smelling the confidence, for the next 3 hours. And so you may have to do more. And so as they're coming out to help you manage, think of it like a security blanket and just smell it maybe every hour to help you get through that. Usually within 24 to 48 hours, you have a breakthrough where you find that you're through that wave.
Love it. I love that. I love that advice. And it's true. And it's funny because it doesn't really matter whether we back off and we just go through it slower, or whether we kind of intensify to push through. Either way, we have to feel it to heal it, right? Like we have to get through it either way. And so in addition to using the 4 oils all day, it's okay to do it at bedtime and at awakening. Yes. And typically we actually teach it, right? Like when you wake up and at bedtime, like that's the standard. And so you can just continue with that, or you can, increase and use them all day as well. So there's lots of different ways to use the tools. Otherwise, tonight, thank you so much, everybody, for coming and participating. We love you all. Can't wait to see you again right back here, same time, same place next Tuesday. Thank you, Greg, for joining us as well. Have a great night.